Oh, this date marks the 50th anniversary of a dark day in American history. On June 5th, 1968, Senator and presidential candidate Robert Kennedy was shot after a campaign event in Los Angeles. He died the following day. A lone gunman, Sirhan, was convicted of the murder, but questions persist. The I-Team's George Knapp spoke with two Nevadans who were affected in different ways by the assassination.
And that's what I remember. Like I said, perhaps not a very good description, but it felt like the atmosphere thickened and I cut through it with a knife.
In 1968, future Nevada Governor Bob Miller was a 23-year-old Army Reserve sergeant living in Los Angeles who found himself across the street from the Bobby Kennedy campaign event at the Ambassador Hotel. Kennedy had just won the California primary.
My thanks to all of you, and now it's on to Chicago, and let's win there. Thank you very much.
And I ran into a fellow that was in the Army Reserve uniform that was taking photographs of the event. And we went in together, so I was relatively close to the stage during Bobby Kennedy's speech.
When the victory speech ended, Miller headed to the lounge. Minutes later, his Army buddy came to get him.
In the emotions of the moment, it was more like, they shot him, I think he's dead. Other people are shot, it's terrible, come on, and just pulled me. He was half my size, and pulled me right out of the room.
Come right here.
Panic and confusion dominated the scene as the terrible news spread through the crowd.
Mostly it was pandemonium. I mean, they were trying to figure out where to go, as was I. I mean, what do you do? You know, I was having a hard time grasping what I was being told.
Miller realized it was real when a bloody victim wheeled past him on a gurney. 5 people, including the senator, had been shot in a cramped pantry. Robert Kennedy died the following day. The confused gunman, Sirhan, was convicted and sent to prison in what appeared to be an open and shut case.
I was in my hotel room writing more jokes for The Tonight Show.
Comedian and writer John Barber was booked to appear on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson when he heard the terrible news. And in a flash, everything changed.
June 6, 1968 is the day that the federal government and the Central Intelligence Agency pounded the final nail into the coffin of hope, peace, and democracy in America. There is absolutely no question about it.
John Barber. As a TV host and producer, Barber became intrigued by New Orleans DA Jim Garrison, the only person to bring a prosecution in the murder of President John Kennedy. He produced 2 films based on interviews with Garrison and came to believe that both Kennedys were targeted by conspiracies involving government operatives. Bobby Kennedy kept his own suspicions about his brother's murder to himself. Barber says Jim Garrison sent warnings to the senator.
Jim Garrison said, "You tell your friend to make his suspicions public because it will save his life. If he keeps them to himself, they're going to murder him too." And indeed they did.
Late last year, Robert Kennedy Jr. announced that he had met with Sirhan in prison, and he called for a new investigation into his father's murder, in part because the original autopsy shows the fatal shot came from a mere 3 inches behind Kennedy, while Sirhan had been in front of the senator 6 feet away. In the confusion, did a second gunman get away?
How does the other gunman get away with shooting RFK in the back of the head and nobody notices?
Because it's a perfectly planned hit. I mean, Robert Kennedy was led by the arm by Thane Cesar into that pantry.
While some members of the Kennedy family want to reopen the investigation, others say what's done is done. George Knapp, 8 News Now.
And Bobby Kennedy was not a popular figure among Las Vegas casino owners because as Attorney General, he authorized intense investigations into organized crime influence in the Nevada gambling industry. And we have additional links on our website, including the original autopsy report that is all on LasVegasNow.com.